everybody in that neighborhood knew who you were. You know, and if you did something over here, guess what? It got back over here, you know, because, you know, somebody in there knew you, they knew who your mama was, and they was going to pass that information on. You know, we don't have that anymore. We got neighbors that don't even know each other anymore. You know, we got such a transient population that nobody really stays, you know, long enough to get to know anybody anymore. We got families that's so discombobulated. You know, we got first cousins, we don't even know who they are. You know, so all of these are things we need to look at as a community and how to bring that back together. And that's why things like community policing is important, because it allows, one, the police to get to know who the community has. For many years, I've been in policing over 37 years, and one of the things when I first got in, we used to tell you what was wrong with your neighborhood. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with your neighborhood. You know, whereas if I walk out there, you might be okay with JoJo the Wino standing on the corner, you know, and I'm seeing JoJo the Wino as a problem, so I'm attacking that, and you're like, why y'all messing with JoJo? You know, because, you know, JoJo ain't bothering anybody. So we did that for years in policing. What community policing does is we come and say, what is the problem? It might be that abandoned house next door. You know, whereas I overlooked that abandoned house, but you get tired of walking past that house at night, you know, because you're getting off work and you hear all kinds of noises in it. Now that, you know, that house is, and that may be the problem, but I ignored that problem for years because I looked at JoJo. You know, so community policing brings us back to talk to the community, figure out exactly what's going on with the community and how we can fix things together. The other thing it does, it allows, you know, you to know who your police officers are. You know, and you know, I was in a conference in Atlanta last week, and somebody said something that was very profound to me. And what they said was, you know, he was at a meeting with an elderly lady, and she said, you know why I like you? And he said, why? He said, because you see me. And I tell you why that was so profound, because that's what I think has happened with policing and community. We don't see each other anymore. We got police officers that don't see our black community as human people. They don't see them as families. They don't see them as, you know, real. We got people who don't see our police officers as human people, who don't see them as real, who don't see them as people who, you know, have families. You know, I've had some friends say, well, why don't y'all let them shoot at y'all first? To me, I'm sitting there saying, that's just crazy. You know, you shoot at me first, you might hit me. You know, and so, you know, they don't see that. Then you got, you know, all of this foolishness going on throughout the country where you hear, you know, those police officers in New York who sat in the car eating lunch deserve to be killed. That's scary when we are in a society, when you're saying two folks just sitting in their car doing their job deserve to be killed. I don't care who they are, police or anybody. Why would you say that? And the same thing, we got police officers out here, you know, not knowing how to interact with young men of color and creating, you know, those, you know, news stories that you see across the country. You know why? Because, you know, if I walk in the room, I grew up in the projects of North Philly. You know, I come from a, you know, kind of background that's just as rough as anybody else's background. But if I walk in the room, he doesn't scare me. You know, I'm a walk in. If I walk in and he's making a lot of noise, that's not uncomfortable to me. You know, whereas I'm coming, you know, this time we go and say, yo, you ain't got to go home. You know, and then make light of it. Whereas another officer may come and say, go home, get out of here. And what that's going to do to him, he already fringed up on me a little bit. But what that's going to do is create that kind of reaction, you know, where, you know, because you can't challenge, you know, everything. But when I said, you ain't got to go home, you ain't feel nothing. You know, it's like, okay. You know, but if I come back and do that, so we got to train our officers on how to deal with communities too. And a lot of that is just knowing how, you know, to talk, knowing how to deal with it. I'll tell you another quick story. This is going to be a little interactive. I'm going to go away from the script a little bit because I really want people to understand how this is going. I got a couple of officers in here. I'm asking them to come up and set up, bring one more chair up here. We're going to do some interaction here because I want you all to understand, you know, and feel, you know, how these situations go and sometimes how they get out of hand. You know, and it's easier to see it for me to sit here and talk to you about it. What we have here, and again, who was the last? These three young ladies right here, can y'all come up? And this gentleman right here. I got you. They look around like, why are you picking on me? And I'll tell you why. No, y'all, you know, let them sit down. Set it up for 4 seats. Like a car. This is a car. This is what is going to be from a man. Come on, we gotta mix this up. All right, here's usually how one of the first interactions our young people have with the police is they get stopped in a vehicle. You know, and say they rolling down Washington Street, they in a black Benz, you know, they chilling. What you listen to? Lil Wayne, what? Oh, she said no. What would y'all listen to? Lil Coco. What you listen to? You drive. What you listen to? Oh, who drive? Drake. Drake. All right. Turn the volume up. Drake. On the thing, you listening. All of a sudden, these are my officers. They get a phone. You know, they get over the air. We just had a bank robbery. Occupied 4 times. Vehicle headed was Eastern Washington. Is it Eastern Washington? Which way Washington? Eastern Washington. Yes, Eastern West. Eastern. Okay. All right. Eastern Washington. Black 4-door sedan. That's how the calls come in sometimes, just like that. You know, and what that says is that we just had a bank robbery. It's occupied 4 times a vehicle, and the officers rolling up, and they see this vehicle with 4 people in it, music blasting. You know, and that's all we get sometimes. So, you know, what happens is the car's driving. We get behind it. You pulling over, you gonna pull over, you gonna run, what? All right, vehicle pulled over. Understand the information we have. That we just had a bank robbery. You know, and this vehicle fits the description. May not be, may be. You know, understand our training. You know, officers are trained to be safe. You know, and so what happens now is we say, drive out the car! Get out the car with your hands up. All right? As he gets out the car, his hands is up. You know, back, now, hold on, Chief, I'm sorry. He didn't get out the car yet. Driver, turn off the car, then drive the keys. Get back in that seat. And then Chief, he finally stopped. Chief know that yet. Then driver, turn off the car, and drop the keys out the car. And while he's dropping the keys out, it's because we don't want anybody to take off in the car. You know, probably.
You mentioned did you just get off the car like that? You guys be surprised. Turn off the car, open the door, keep your hands up. You calm, yeah. They would ask him to back to him, you know, or lay on the ground. It could be. Here's the problem. They may ask him to lay on the ground. The problem with that is, you know, I just got my new clothes on. You ask him to lay on the ground, and you know, I'm one of these folks. I like shoes. I gotta lay on the ground, scuff up my new shoes, my Stacy's or whatever, you know. That's a problem, you know. But this is what we do, one or the other, depending on the situation that's going on, because, you know, it's a safe move. You know, what that does, and I tell you, for police, one of the worst situations, we got domestics and vehicle stops. 2 worst situations, because we have pulled over cars, people been dead in the trunk, you know, they just robbed the bank, you know, all this is normal, everyday police work for us, so this is not even unusual. So, what we have, but then we got my man here, he just, you know, he ain't got nothing to do with nothing. He dressed all up, you know, he riding around with 4 young ladies with him. He balling, you know, so, you know, he trying to, keep us cool and save his face, and as we do, you know, one thing I tell people all the time, you know what? Young ladies could stop these boys from wearing their pants down. You know why? Because all you gotta do is say, I ain't fooling with you no more. And they'll pull them up. Ain't a man in here that hadn't done something to impress a woman. Show me a man who. Okay, I thought so. We all do. You know, and if you tell us to pull our pants up, guess what we gonna do? And some of these ladies who've been around, wow, you remember if a boy showed his underwear back in the day, he was a bum. You know, and you would have said, your daddy or nobody won't go let him in your house like that. You know, so I'm telling you, easy solution. Say we ain't fooling with you. They'll pull their pants up. You know, they'll start dressing right, because we all going to do something to impress a young lady. I mean, that's just a fact of life. You know, and we will do it until we old men. You know, and that's how it is. So as a young man, if you do that, they're going to pull them up or they're going to be dateless. One or the other. But anyway, go back to the vehicle stop. All right, now we got him. Understand, now he got an attitude. He like, you know, why y'all pulling me over? I mean, act like you were upset with the officer. Oh my God. And he's being calm about it. We get a lot more choice words than that. Just so that, You know, and so now, how did that make you feel? Really, it didn't make you feel really good, did it? See, you know, and this is what I'm saying. But what we did is standard practice. You know, and what we try to tell young people, put your hands down. What we try to tell young people, he can't win that battle right there, even if he's uncomfortable. He cannot win. Let me tell you why. Because now, you know what? I see this ball tire here. I see this thing hanging from the mirror. I see, you know, his cracked windshield. Guess how many tickets he got when he leave me if he got an attitude? He got all those tickets. So even though if he run his mouth, if he say what he want to say, he got 10 tickets when he go to court. He paying, say, $800 for that one traffic stop.
It had nothing to do with
That had nothing to do with anything else. Exactly right. You know, but it's how you react. You know, here's the thing, and we got to help educate our folks because, one, officers are trained that way. They train to be safe. That's why what you saw. Let me tell you, that is probably one of the safest ways to do it. It's unfortunate that if he had nothing to do with it, he's feeling embarrassed. You know, and see what he could do from there is create other things. Say he got to the officer and say, "Man, get up off me." Then you got another whole situation because the officer is going to respond to that too. You know, and I hear people say, well, you know, I heard one thing say, well, why do officers just don't run? Now, one of the things is, I will fire him. Let me tell you up front, because we have something called cowardice. He can't run from a situation. You know, when bullets are shot, everybody running this way, we got to go toward that. Exactly. You know, and it's unfortunate, but I get people all the time say, well, the officer didn't have to do this. I heard a young man on TV say, well, he was unarmed. Why did they have to, how much could he hurt? Let me tell you, this young lady can hurt me. You know, and for the men in this room, you know, if she wild out up in here, she could hurt me. First of all, you know, we as men, and even police officers, sometimes we are very gentlemanly like when it comes to young ladies because, you know, we tend to, and if she wild out, I mean, she catch me right, I'm done for at least a couple of minutes. You know, and then a man in here don't understand that. I mean, I'm done. You know, so at that point she pulled my gun, kicked me again. I mean, anything. So you know, sometimes people get this thing that because you know it's a young lady or because it's one guy, you know, it's difficult. The other thing is why sometimes you see 3 or 4 officers dealing with one person because one person one-on-one is mano a mano. You know, and that means that you know. This is a test of who can whoop who, and that can get vicious. If I got 3 officers, then we grabbing and pulling and you know doing that, you know, and pushing them to the ground. Nobody's really blaring out like that. But one-on-one, we gotta go because I gotta win, and he thinking he gotta win. And anybody been in a fight, that's what it is, you know. And again, this is understanding how these things go, and they look bad. It looks bad. It looks bad on camera because you see a young man, you know, who has hit the ground. You know, it looks bad because, you know, social media, you know, takes things, you know, and anybody who has never been a victim of social media, you know, be thankful because it will take something small and blow it up all over the country without any explanation. You know, here's where I'm probably get in trouble with you guys. Ferguson, I told people up front, I belong to an organization, I'm the immediate past president of an organization called Noble, which is the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. And what Noble's are, Noble is probably the spearhead and probably the most powerful organization in dealing with things dealing with youth and dealing with black-on, you know, crimes against black. We call ourselves the conscience of law enforcement. Driving While Black, Noble was the spearhead of making these other departments look at them. We were down in Ferguson adjusting some of the, you know, dealing with some of the issues down in Ferguson as well. And we tend to kind of say the way it is, you know, because, you know, I told people early on, wait until you see what happens with Ferguson. Because the officer, let me tell you, he responded to what he had to respond to. You know, it's unfortunate that anybody dies at the hands of anybody, be it an officer, be it a, you know, some other person. You know, but they had an interaction with a young man. You know, it all came out. Everybody, when they first said it, they said, what? This young man was shot in the back. Turned out he wasn't shot in the back. Mm-hmm. You know, that was the original thing when I watched that thing on TV, it said he was shot in the back. Mm-hmm. Which meant a whole bunch of people went up there and said that he was shot in the back. You know what that did for that community? It made them not being credible witnesses. Because now, if I'm a lawyer defending this officer, guess what I do? I call you up and say, you said he was shot in the back on news the other day, or you gave me the statement you shot in the back. Now, what story you want to tell today? You're not credible anymore. Understand, that's just the way it is. We got kids. If our kids lie to us so much, guess what? You don't believe nothing you say after that. I mean, we got co-workers. If they lie to us so much, guess what? We don't believe nothing you say. So those folks created a